It's 10 years since Kurt Vonnegut died. I just saw that this week. It's 10 years since Kurt Vonnegut died. Kurt Vonnegut was one of my Rabbis. I don't know if he was a Rabbi for any of you. Kurt Vonnegut was one of my Rabbis because Kurt Vonnegut saw the world with a certain clarity, with a wry humor, with a belief that we are deep down better than we usually act. I'm a little bit glad, to tell you the truth, that he is not alive to see the state of things. But I'm curious what he would have said. It would not have been sweet. But he really was one of my rabbis, and I miss him. Somebody I never met. I miss him. One of his themes that he came back to over and over and over again in his books, from a book written in the 70s called Slapstick up until some of the last essays and speeches he ever gave, was the theme of human loneliness. Vonnegut said that for the first 100,000 years that there were human beings, we lived, all of us, in tribes, in clans, in collections of 100 family members or more. That meant that when a woman's arms started to ache from carrying her baby, that there were always great aunts and sisters-in-law and brothers-in-law and friends and family members who could take the baby for a few minutes. That meant when a teenager just couldn't stand his parents 1 minute longer, that there were 20 other tents or huts or cabins that he could escape to where he would have a substitute set of parents who could watch out for him and keep him safe till he was ready to go home. That meant that whenever we were feeling in need of a word of advice or a listening ear or just a hug, for the first 100,000 years that there were people on this planet, we had that available to us virtually all the time. And now, almost none of us have anything like that. Loneliness is one of our great challenges as a civilization. Loneliness is bad for physical health. People who live alone live shorter and less healthy lives than people who are in community. Loneliness is bad for emotional health. Depression breeds in loneliness. Anxiety breeds in loneliness. And as we saw 2 weeks ago, and again and again and again in this country, violence breeds in loneliness. It is not accidental that after each one of these terrible shootings, when they interview friends and neighbors and ask about the person, they all say, he was kind of a loner. He was alone most of the time. The worst in the human psyche breeds when we have nobody with us. God created the world, our Torah portion says, with a refrain, and it was good, and it was good, and it was very good, until the very first flaw in creation became visible. What was the very first flaw in creation? Lo tov heyot adam levado. It's bad for people to be by themselves. It's the first piece that wasn't good in God's vision for this world. And God proposes a solution. God creates an Ezer Kenegno, a partner for that Adam creature so he need not be alone. Vonnegut, ever the provocateur, says God didn't go far enough. Because creating one person and expecting that one person can take away our loneliness is an unfair burden to put on any one person. No one person can take away our loneliness. Vonnegut says when spouses fight with one another, the translation of the fight really is, you're not enough people. You're not enough people. You can't possibly fulfill all of my needs in the world. You can't possibly be all of the things I need in order to not feel lonely. A little family unit mom and dad and a couple of kids and a dog, is incredibly fragile. It's too small, Vonnegut says. How should God have created the world? As if we can say that. How should God have created the world? God should have created the world where we each had 100 relatives at the ready. God should have created the world where we had that built-in community that we knew we could always count on for good and for bad. And because God didn't build that into creation, we have had to build that for ourselves. So I don't have 100 family members. What I have is a synagogue. I actually have two. I have one in LA, and for the last 9 years, I've had one in Orange County. For the last 9 years, since I first walked in here, a fourth-year rabbinic student, the last time Rabbi Spitz went on sabbatical, actually. Since I walked in here 9 years ago, I knew that there would be 100 people in this building who would ask me how I'm doing and who would actually listen for the answer. I knew that there would be 100 people in this building who, if I needed an ear, they would offer that ear. And I knew that there would be 100 people in this building who would be willing to come up to me and tap me on the shoulder and say, I need the same back from you. That's why we do this, friends. That's the job that religion does for us today. Religion has many jobs, but I would venture that this is one of, if not the most important. Religion gives us that extended family that we are designed to be in. It gives us the people who have our back, and it gives us the empowerment that comes with knowing we have somebody else's. God didn't do creation perfectly. If you were following along in the Torah reading, over and over and over again, creation was frustrating and disappointing. The first two people rebel. The next two people kill one another. Next week we get to a flood. God was a new deity. God was new at this. And so in the first attempt at creation, God thought maybe one would be enough. But we've been at this now for a very long time, and we have learned one is not enough. What we need are spaces like this. What I need are spaces like this. So I am grateful for these 14 Shabbatot that I'll get to spend with you over the course of the next 8 months, because this will feel each time like coming to family. I am grateful for all of you who will be that community for me. I am honored by the opportunity to be a piece of that for you. Lo tov chayot adam levado. This is too hard to do by ourselves. Thank God we don't have to. Shabbat shalom.